So today's speaker, we're excited to have Trish Fancher with us. She's the Executive Director at Keep Lee County Beautiful. And she's going to talk to us about reducing litter to keep our waterways clean. So Trish, as I said, is Executive Director of Keep Lee County Beautiful, which is a nonprofit affiliate of Keep America Beautiful. They work to inspire and educate and engage the Lee County community in improving, beautifying, and protecting the environment. She leads a staff that conducts grassroots projects and programs focused on building cleaner, greener, and safer communities. If you don't know it, the Keep Lee County Beautiful team oversees local participation in the International Coastal Cleanup, which I know a lot of us participate in. And they annually remove between 6,000 and 8,000 pounds of trash from the Lee County coastlines. Really important stuff. And I was really excited to see that Keep Lee County Beautiful has won several awards, including state level awards in 2017 for its Waterway Protection Program, and in 2019 for a social media campaign to end littering. This year, Keep Lee County Beautiful won a national award for program innovation, and Trish served on a 2019 Save Our Water Summit that included Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So please welcome Trish. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and Trish is going to take over. Thanks for being here, Trish.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for the WET plan, for everything you guys do. So as Karen said, I'm the Executive Director of Keep Lee County Beautiful. I've been with the organization since 2004, and I've been in my current role as Executive Director since 2015. Our organization has actually been around since 1989, doing these grassroots events. And now, we talked a little bit earlier when we were preparing about how the roadways look, and I sometimes get discouraged because I see a lot of trash on our roadways. However, we're doing more events now than we ever did and using more volunteers than we ever did, but we're still only collecting about 10% of the amount of trash we collected back in the early 90s and the late 90s. So we're making progress. It's just kind of slow, but we are making progress. So I don't want anybody to be discouraged. So I'm not going to read the slides, but aquatic litter is basically anything that's not disposed of properly, that's not organic or natural. It's a big problem we fight all over the world, but it's prevalent here with our waterways, because I like to say, even when we're cleaning a road in Lehigh, it's going to be marine trash eventually because of our drainage system and route of canals and other things like that. This actually happens to be one of my coworkers' husband. They were out boating on the Caloosahatchee River and they came across these balloons. This has happened 3 or 4 times within the last 2 years. There is a law in the state of Florida that you cannot release more than 10 helium balloons in a 24-hour period. However, I don't think it's being monitored. So we see them all the time, especially after graduations and things like that. So it's just one of those things that we like to let people know, rethink what you're doing. I love balloons, but there's a time and a place for them, and it's never to be released into the environment. So for my presentation today, to be able to tackle the issue of marine and aquatic litter, we need to understand how much trash we create, what do we do with the trash, and how can we prevent the trash from entering our waterways. So there's 2 types of littering. There's deliberate littering, where people toss the stuff out of their car, illegal dumping and things like that. But there's also non-deliberate littering. I did a video where I had a receipt in my pocket as well as my keys. And I took my keys out and let the litter fall on the ground and of course blow away and things like that, just to show that not everything is intentional. Not everything you see is intentional. In Florida, specifically, when we have our summer storms, if your trash on the side of your house is not contained in a bag or in a trash can with a lid that seals tightly, there's a good chance it's going to get blown over or get knocked over by animals. And then as soon as that storm picks up, it's gone. So that's something that we see a lot of. So there are basically 5 kind of behavior behind the debris. Litter from recreational activities, which is and fast food consumption. So those are the trash from fast food restaurants that's littered by people in their cars, but it's also people who maybe have left something behind from a picnic. There's debris from ocean and waterway activities. These are your fishing related items, including recreational and commercial fishermen, like nets, fishing line, crates, bait boxes, and things like that. But it's also things from offshore oil rigs and ships and other bigger items. We have litter from smoking. This one is the most #1 item we find every year. It includes cigarette butts, cigar tips, lighters, and the wrappers on the packaging. In some areas, because this is when we do the coastal cleanup every year, we actually record every piece of trash we pick up and we categorize it. And smoking litter is our #1 found item every year globally, and it has been for more than a decade. In some places, cigarette butts make up more than 85% of all littered items. There's illegal dumping. This category includes household waste, your white goods like your refrigerators and other appliances, building construction, tires, and sometimes entire cars. And what we find in Lee County, all of this stuff, as long as it's a personal quantity, meaning I believe it's 4 tires per year, it's your refrigerator, your couch, it can be put out curbside and be picked up at no charge. What has happened though is many people come from out of Lee County where there is a charge and they don't want to have to pay that fee to get their refrigerator picked up and hauled off. So they take it out to where it's a little less populated and they dump it. And then it becomes our problem to pick it up, or the county's problem, or sometimes even, unfortunately, a private property owner's problem. So just letting people know, what can and cannot be picked up here in Lee County is important. Personal hygiene and medical debris, believe it or not, this is a big issue for us. That includes diapers, it includes medical waste, and even like Band-Aids and things like that we find a lot of. So those are kind of your behavioral categories. The top 10 items that we find in the United States, and this again has been true for many, many years, obviously is cigarette butts. That's the #1 item globally. Bags and food wrappers. This includes plastic bags, caps and lids to your McDonald's cup, to your plastic bottle, your water bottle, those kinds of caps and lids. We find them everywhere. And just as a note, those caps and lids can be left on your plastic bottles when you throw them in your recycle bin. They will get crushed, the bottles will get crushed and the lids pop off. And then they get collected and sorted separately. So you can leave your lids on your water bottles and milk jugs and things like that when you recycle them. Beverage bottles, glass is another one. Beverage cans, cups, plates, forks, knives, and spoons, which you can see plastic is a whole special problem over here on the right. Beverage bottles, 2 liters or less. Straws and stirrers. I know on Fort Myers Beach, there is a plastic straw ban. However, since the plastic straw ban has come into place, we have been seeing an uptick in paper straws being left on the beaches. So while they are eventually going to break down, it's still trash, it's still litter, and it still needs to not happen, and it needs to be disposed of properly. Fast food containers, and then of course cigar tips, which goes full circle to the #1 item there. Now, plastics are a special kind of problem because they can take hundreds of years to break down, and when they do, they can release chemicals into our water. So now it's not just the physical trash, but it's also the chemicals. And it also includes, it is responsible for the death of many, many marine animals and birds each year. One study found that almost 90% of the debris floating in our oceans is plastic. And the cigarette filters are made from plastic fibers. So I don't even know how many of those out there. So this is just something that we actually saw something similar to this at Moat Marine, and we liked it so much, and people really like to see the visual of just how long some of these things take. I'm going to point out, like, a lot of people don't consider an apple core or a banana peel trash or litter because it's organic, but it is, because if it's thrown on the ground, it is not disposed of properly. So technically, that is litter. Some of these other things that you can see take months, sometimes years, 80 years for the foam buoy, 10 to 20 years from the plastic bag. And of course, that plastic bag becomes an issue when a turtle believes it's a jellyfish and wants to eat it. They get entangled into machinery, they get entangled into boats, all kinds of things. Like over on the paper products, newspaper, 2 to 6 weeks only. However, what people don't realize is the ink used to print that newspaper are chemicals. And those chemicals, when it gets broken down, goes into our ground, into our soil, and it can make it down into our water system. So while something as innocent as paper seems like it'll be gone in just a short period of time, it won't necessarily. Same thing with your cigarettes, 1 to 5 years for the cigarette butts. But in each cigarette butt, depending on the brand, there's anywhere from 7,000 to 9,000 chemicals. So when that does eventually break down, those 7,000 to 9,000 different chemicals are going to be released into our soil and into our water. Plastic beverage bottles can last up to 450 years, and monofilament fishing line up to 600 years. So it's just kind of crazy to think how long some of these things can last in our environment. Obviously, there's huge impacts to our environment when there's trash and litter in our waterways. The poor little turtle up here on the right having a 6-pack ring, which I didn't even think they made anymore. And I got some Powerade the other day, and they were in 6-pack rings. Obviously, habitat destruction or harm. An example might be some plastic sheeting or a tarp or something like that sinking to the bottom of a waterway. And if it could kill off all the seagrasses, it could smother some bottom dwelling animals down there and things like that. So that's actually destroying that habitat. Physical damage, like the turtle up here. This poor turtle obviously had been growing with that plastic ring around its shell for quite some time. Impacts on the water quality, we talked about with the cigarettes and the ink, adding chemicals to the water. Each year, over 100,000 marine animals die when they ingest or become entangled. We do a marine cleanup. It's actually coming up Saturday, the Monofilament Madness, where we get volunteers to go out in boats, kayaks, canoes, anything that floats, and they clean. We're targeting the Estero Back Bay this year. And every single year we find birds, unfortunately, that have become entangled in the trees because of leftover fishing line. Or we even found a junior brown pelican a couple of years ago that had a hook through its throat. We were able to take it to Crow, but unfortunately it was too damaged. It was not able to be saved. And this happens every single year. And that's just in this one location. As many as 2 million seabirds die every year because of ingestion and entanglement. There's also impacts on human health and safety. Trash in our waterways, like glass or needles or other things left on beaches, obviously become a safety hazard if you're walking on the beach or playing on the beach. There was a survey done in Oregon, and it revealed that nearly 60% of fishermen had experienced equipment damage due to marine debris. This is things getting entangled around their propeller and things like that that costs a lot of money to get repaired. And when we talk about the trash in our waterways for human health and safety, that leads us to the economic impacts. We're a tourist city, we're a tourist county. And if our beaches aren't clean and pristine and beautiful looking, then our tourists aren't going to come back. And that is many of our jobs, and it's the lifeblood of our community. Not only that, but there's the impacts of the time, effort, and equipment that are dedicated to cleaning up our communities through state-run and county-run programs like Adopt a Highway, Adopt a Road. We run Adopt a Shore, which we're able to do mostly with volunteers, but there is a cost to the equipment we give them, to the staffing that's used to monitor all those programs and maintain all those programs. So there's an economic cost to all of these things as well. So now let's get on to some of the solutions. Cleanups. We do many cleanups every year. We actually are on track to do over 250 cleanups just in Lee County this year. Pollution prevention. I got ahead of myself here. Pollution prevention is just educational programming to stop it from happening in the first place. There's two types of pollution prevention: proper disposal, educating people on disposing of their trash properly, and waste reduction, which is my favorite topic to talk about. So we'll get in that a little bit more. Proper disposal, waste reduction, laws and regulations. There are many laws and regulations in place. I think the problem is our current law enforcement departments just simply can't handle the amount of littering and things like that. They've got bigger fish to fry than to worry about a gum wrapper thrown out their window and things like that. So cleanups, we do over 250 cleanups a year. Keep Lee County Beautiful has a staff of 3, and we do 250 cleanups a year using all volunteers, somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 volunteers. Some of our big cleanups are like the Great American Cleanup, which is in the spring. We'll have over 30 to 40 locations throughout the county, where we get about 1,000 to 1,200 volunteers go out and physically remove the trash from our communities, from our waterways and things like that. 5th of July cleanup is a big one for us. All the fireworks and leftovers from people partying the night before. It's a little bit harder to get volunteers because they've stayed out partying perhaps a little bit too late, and they don't want to get up really early for us. The International Coastal Cleanup we talked about, that is a global event with over 120 countries all participating on the same day at the same time. That's our biggest event of the year. We've had up to 2,500 volunteers in our waterways cleaning all on one morning. And then the Monofilament Madness we have coming up this Saturday, where we actually will go out and cut the fishing line out of the trees, as well as remove the collected trash. And we like to think that it's all stuff that has been casually littered or blown away from people's docks. But every year back in the Estero Bay, we find stereos, TVs, we found a car axle, we found a 55-gallon drum of hydraulic fluid, a chest freezer, things that are not casually blowing away from somebody's home or property or off their boat. It's intentional, littering. And then after Hurricane Charlie, we found all kinds of crazy things because some of the boats sank. And if they weren't recovered quickly enough, they broke apart over the years, and we were finding a lot of the stuff starting to finally surface and get caught up on the shore. We also host programs such as the Adopt a Shore and the Adopt a Spot program, where companies, families, individuals can adopt a 1 to 2 mile stretch of shoreline, and they commit to cleaning it 4 times a year. We give them all the supplies. We can help make sure that we get the proper disposal, whether they're leaving at an existing can, and we let the public works know to pick it up or things like that. And we, like I said, do this 250 times a year. But cleanups really aren't the answer, because cleaning it up after it's already entered our waterways is just a temporary solution. It's just going to happen again. It's better if we can prevent it from happening in the first place. So that's when our education comes in. We did partner with the City of Fort Myers and GHD back in September to clean Manuel Branch. And I think educating our community members on our watersheds is important. Personally, I did not know what the Manuel Branch was until Karen reached out to me and asked if we'd be a part of this cleanup. And it's a 3.5 mile stream that's part of the Caloosahatchee watershed, and it runs kind of right by Lee Memorial Hospital all the way out past Fowler, and it eventually dumps off into the Caloosahatchee. And it's drainage ditches and the little stream that runs along there. So we had 38 volunteers come out that morning, and this was a pretty steep incline down to the water level. But these volunteers worked hard, and they spent 114 hours to remove 540 pounds of trash. That's a lot of time and effort for 540 pounds of trash. Or if we could prevent it in the first place, it would be so much easier. So pollution prevention, there are 2 main approaches to preventing litter from entering our waterways. Proper disposal is educating people on the need to dispose of their trash properly, and waste reduction. So the first one, proper disposal, that can be a lot of different things. We had a conversation earlier about, trash in Lee County. With our summer storms whipping up 30, 40, 50-mile-an-hour winds on a regular daily basis. It's really important for people to secure their trash at their home. So while I know a lot of people want to use less plastic, so they don't want to use a plastic bag, it's really important to put a bag in the can to put all your trash in, tie it off. It's important to leave it in the can because we have a lot of wildlife. But if you can containerize it in that plastic bag, then when the truck comes to pick it up, it's less likely to blow out. If a summer storm rolls in, it's less likely to dump over and get knocked around. Or even if an animal does knock your can over, it's less likely to be all over your neighborhood. So you can fill that bag all the way full, put the bag in the can, make sure it's got a nice tight lid, and that's the best way to prevent a lot of litter that I see in our neighborhoods. I was also talking earlier, we had a group of FGCU students do a study for us about 4 or 5 years ago on Fort Myers Beach, specifically by the pier and Lynn Hall Park. And what they found in their study is most of the trash collected was within 20 feet of a trash receptacle. So people just simply didn't care. Some, the trash receptacles probably weren't emptied often enough. And so there was just overflowing, and people would still try to cram it in there or stick it next to it or things like that. So it's again important that people are aware that they need to dispose of things properly, but it's also important that we make it easy for them to do so. Waste reduction is my favorite. I use this cup every single day, and I figure this one reusable cup saves approximately 1,400 water bottles a year just for me alone. And I'm a family of 4, so you multiply that by 4. You multiply that by the 750,000 people we have living in Lee County, and it's a lot of waste that we can reduce. And that's just one item. I use reusable grocery bags. I use a electric toothbrush and with just the disposable head, so I don't have to do the whole thing all the time. There are many ways we can reduce our waste very easily without making a huge impact on our life. Some of it takes a little getting used to. Remembering to take your reusable bags to the grocery store and things like that. But you really can make a huge, huge impact without making major changes within your life. So waste reduction, it's my favorite topic. We're going to talk about, everybody's heard of the 3 R's. There's technically 5, and in Lake County we have 6. So the 5 R's of waste reduction include refuse. So the first element in this hierarchy is learning to refuse an item. When you go to a restaurant, if they come in and they bring you water and they automatically put 4 straws down on the table because there are 4 of you, you can say, I don't really want a straw because I'm trying to reduce my waste. That straw is now going to the trash because it's been on your table. So you need to cut them off at the pass. Please, no straws. Whatever other items that you maybe don't want, it's going to become trash. Maria had mentioned a story about she went to a grocery store with her reusable bags, and they started to put an item in a plastic bag. She said, no plastic. I have my own bags. Oh, well, now I got to throw it away anyway. It's just waste. So as much as we can cut people off at the pass before they even give us the items, the better. Just refuse as many single-use plastics and all this other waste. Refuse it in the first place is the easiest thing to do. Reduce how much you use. For example, I pack lunch for my son and my husband every single day. And I've switched to stainless steel containers instead of Ziploc baggies and things like that. They have stainless steel straws that we use all the time. I know I'm a little out there, but I even have one I carry in my purse. So when I do go to a restaurant, I have a straw with me at all times. But just trying to think about what items can you replace with more usable items. My makeup remover, I use cloth ones that I can reuse. I wash them, I reuse them instead of the cotton ones that can just be thrown away. So just think about the things that possibly you could use alternatives that would last a little bit longer. Reuse. Oh, there you go. Reuse. You can reuse items over and over again. Repurpose. This is also often known as upcycling. There's a big upcycle festival up in Pasco County this weekend, where it's a bunch of artists who turn recyclable or trash into art. There was some really cute yard art made out of tires. I've seen, plastic bottles turned into planters. I actually made a vertical planter out of some 2-liter bottles. And in that way, I was able to have a bigger garden in my backyard without taking up any more space. So think about the things that you can reuse in alternative ways. And then the 5th one is recycle. Recycling seems to be the #1 topic people talk about, but it's actually the last resort. Because we can't recycle our way out of the mess that we have gotten ourselves into. Unless there is a need for that material, then recycling really doesn't do any good, and it's expensive because now we have an extra truck on the road to recycle it. That stuff has to be collected separately, sorted separately, driven to its ultimate end location separately, and then repurposed, which is a whole nother manufacturing process. So recycling is actually the end game. Now in Lee County, we have one more R, and that is recover or reclaim. For example, with our waste to energy facility, any metals that go through there, they are actually either shaken out or taken out with magnets, depending on what type of metal they are. And that is then sold to be melted down and created into something else. So we actually recover or reclaim that. And then with us using the waste to create energy, we are recovering or reclaiming those materials to create a new product. So we are reclaiming the use of that material. Laws and regulations is, in my opinion, the last resort of trying to prevent waste. Again, the laws and regulations are only as good as our enforcement is able to handle them. And they really don't have the time to be worrying about a cigarette butt going out of a window or a straw being dropped on the beach. It really needs to come down to people taking personal responsibility for what they're doing in their own communities. I did post some laws or some ordinances we have in Lee County about litter in public places. And it's even considered litter if you blow your grass into the canal and things like that, where it's not supposed to be. We do have truckloads causing litter. That's a big one. Uncovered trucks. That is a big issue. In June, there's Uncovered Truck Day, where we'll be doing a campaign to try to get people to cover their loads to make sure they're not adding more litter to our communities. And that's about it. So it's really important that people just understand what litter is, where it comes from, and what they can do about it. Everybody has a role to play in preventing it. And I would much rather see it be prevented instead of worry about the cleanup afterwards. So with that, if anybody has any questions, I would love to take them.
Hey, Trish, I have a question.
Okay.
So you put out some good tips there. So last night I went out to dinner and then they give me leftovers. Do you have a way of dealing with your leftovers? Do you bring stuff to put them in or what?
I do. I carry, I have a couple of things. I have stainless steel containers and I have some 100% pure silicone containers. They will give you, some restaurants will give you the side eye and they will complain and they'll tell you that it's against health regulation. But you're not asking them necessarily to take your food back to the kitchen for them to containerize it for you. You're asking just to walk away. I'll take out my container, I'll put my leftovers in my own container, and I'm on my merry way. So I do that. And at the beginning, most restaurants are starting to get a little bit more flexible and a little bit more open to allowing people to bring in their own reusable containers. And like I said, if they tell you that it's against health code, just no. I'm not asking you to take anything with you to the kitchen. I'm asking you just let me take care of my own leftovers. So yeah, I do that. I carry in my car at all times some reusable plastic containers. I have some bamboo silverware, stainless steel straws. I have that in my car at all times. I know I'm a little bit of a nerd that way, but it is what it is.
Sounds like a good Christmas gift for all your relatives, like just like a kit that you put in your car.
Oh yeah. Because you never know when you're going to need them. I mean, I use my reusable grocery bags for everything. I have probably 20, 25, and I even use them to put down on the back of my car when I'm buying plants so that, you know, the dirt doesn't get into my carpet. I use them as wet bags when we're leaving the beach. If I need to throw all my wet stuff in there, I use them for everything. And I figure for my family of 4, I have 2 adult children that still live with me, so I feed 4 people. I can do all my entire weeks with the grocery shopping. It's about 5 or 6 of the public size reusable bags, which would be somewhere along the lines of 20 to 25 plastic bags that I'm saving every single time I go to the grocery store. So yeah, I'm big on that kind of stuff.
Trish, I got a question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, the plastic bag, when you mentioned the plastic, I'm sorry, I mute myself. Is the plastic bag has changed now that Publix is going and shifting, so the material is a lot thinner and more breakable?
I think all stores are moving that way because it's cheaper.
Is
Everything's
that
about being
possible
cheaper.
then that we're going to have more microplastics problems because the plastics are going to end up breaking in smaller pieces, and now we have more microplastic problems?
Yes, I do believe that. And I do macroplastics testing for Lake County. And I can tell you, I have never, ever taken a sample from all over the county where I haven't found microplastics, including the faucet of my own office. I was actually just trying to teach somebody how to do microplastics testing, and I didn't have a good water sample. So for a joke, I was like, I'm just going to take water out of my faucet in the kitchen of my office. And I took it and we ran it through the process and we put it in a microscope, and lo and behold, we found a fiber that came out of my faucet. So microplastics are everywhere. And the problem is, you know, smaller animals, smaller fish eat those microplastics, and then we eat the fish. And now they're starting to find microplastics in humans. And up until I think it was 2017, microplastics were in a lot of our health and beauty aids, like the little blue dots in Crest toothpaste. Well, guess what? Those blue dots were plastics. And then you're putting them in your mouth, you're swallowing some of them. A lot of women's facial washes had microplastics in it. Now they're starting to use things like apricot shells and other things to give it that scrub. But microplastics are going to be a very, very big problem in the future if we don't get that under control.
Hey Trish, Michael Fleming's asking us, when will Florida require people to bring their own bags to the grocer?
That's a very political question. It's actually illegal in the state of Florida for a community to ban plastic bags. So that is an issue you have to take up with your legislature. It's taken up almost every single year, and every single year it's been denied. The town of Fort Myers Beach actually wanted to do that. They wanted to make a ban of plastic bags within the town limits. And the state of Florida legislation has decided that it's illegal for the town to do that. So until our legislative pushes change that law, I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Can I say something about that? I know
Sure.
another place that actually did something to control that is by charging like 25 cents per bag. So once you have a charge on that, it's not free, then you're gonna remember to bring your own cloth bag.
I agree 100%. I wish that could happen here. There are many states that have that and other countries that have that. The best we have here in Lee County is Target will actually pay you to bring a reusable bag. They'll pay you 5 cents per bag that you bring and use. Now, I will have to say with the caveat that since COVID, They're not allowing you to bring in reusable bags unless you are willing to bag your stuff yourself. I do all my dry good grocery shopping at Target. And so I bring my reusable bags and they're like, we're not allowed to touch your bags. That's fine. I'll bag them myself. I don't care. It doesn't take me that long. So what you do is you tell them, okay, I used 4 bags. They scan a little barcode, you get 5 cents per bag. It's a little incentive. You know, they're saving, I think those plastic bags cost them somewhere between 16 and 18 cents a bag. So they're saving still 11 to 13 cents by me bringing in my own bag. It's good business, but they're just not all caught onto that yet. And this is something else I do like to tell people when we're talking about some of these materials. You know, why aren't styrofoam cups banned, or why aren't these companies making different products? And I try to tell people we vote with our dollars. So that styrofoam cup making company, they're in business to make money. And as long as we're buying those styrofoam cups, they're going to keep producing them because they're making money. When we finally put the pinch on them by not buying those products anymore, they will come up with a better alternative. They will come up with some new ideas and they will make changes. But as long as we as consumers continue to use these products, where is their motivation to change their business model that may potentially cost them money? So it's you know, it's in our hands to make these decisions on a daily basis.
So like Costco and Aldi's both don't give you bags. You would think that saves money. They don't have to pay for bags.
I would think it would save a ton of money.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so it kind of surprises me that people still want to use bags.
You know what? We're a bit of a lazy nation and we want convenience over anything else. And
it's hard to remember those bags, bring those bags into the store with you sometimes, you know, and I think people struggle with that too. Like, you know, I'm a busy mom. I got 3 kids in the car. I'm just trying to get the kids into the store with me. Now I got to remember these bags too, you know. So do you have any tips for that? Like, how do you keep it top of mind to remember that kind of stuff?
I do, you know, it took me a while. And I keep, like I said, I have about 20 to 25 bags. I keep a stack in my car, and then when I bring them home, I have one place by my front door and a little table where I put them so that I see them when I'm leaving the house again to throw them back in my car. But the other thing we try to tell people is we're not asking people to be 100% perfect 100% of the time. We're asking them to do the very best they can. I mean, there are times I run into the grocery store and I wasn't really expecting to, and maybe all of my bags are at my house. I'm still going to take a paper over plastic because paper is better. I may have to take a paper bag that day instead of using one of my reusable bags just because it wasn't in my plan. We're not acting everybody to do every single thing every single time. We're asking them to do the very best they can in that moment. And you know what? If we could get, well, in Lee County specifically, 750,000 people to make their best choices as much as they could, it would have a huge impact. But we're not asking to be perfect.
Hey, I see Doug on camera there. Did you have a question, Doug? If not, I'm going to stop the video there. So are there any other questions out there? Feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask a question. So, you know, I did want to ask you to talk again about those AdoptAPrograms. And I wanted to mention, and I did it in the chat, is that City of Fort Myers does have an Adopt a Canal program as well. And Johnson Engineering, who's one of the wet plan partners, has adopted a canal, and so is GHD. So, you know, if anyone's interested in doing that, they can get a hold of wet plan and we'll get you in connection with that. But how do you adopt a road or adopt a water body, all of that?
Well, it's a little confusing right now. I'm hoping to solve that issue. So if you want to adopt a highway, then you have to contact the state. And it's called Clean Roads, I believe, Clean Roads, Florida. It's through FDOT. that you can find out that information. But like the city of Fort Myers, city of Cape Coral, they do have Adopt a Road programs, and as well as the county for unincorporated Lake County, they have Adopt a Road programs that they run and they maintain. So you'd have to call each one of those municipalities individually. Keep Lake County Beautiful runs the Adopt a Shore and the Adopt a Spot. And the Adopt a Shore, it was mostly on Fort Myers Beach, Bonita Beach, but we've expanded it to pretty much anywhere that's attached to some water somewhere. If it's not attached to water, then it's the Adopt a Spot. And that might be your favorite park, your favorite community hangout, public place that you can adopt and commit to cleaning 4 times a year. That can all be found at our website, klcb.org. And like I said, we do community groups, we do organizations. We've actually adopted a road ourselves. And I try to get people to remember that even if you're adopting a road out in Lehigh, you're protecting our waterways, because that trash will most likely make it out there within a short period of time and start to break down, like Ernesto said, into microplastics and other things. So they can, if somebody has any questions, they can reach out to me. My email address is on the screen, and I can point them into the right direction depending on what they're trying to adopt. I hope one day to be able to condense it all, and we will handle all of it for the county. But as of right now, we're not quite there yet.
I got another question, if I may.
Okay.
Regarding diving cleanups, is anybody or any group is doing any in the piers or every place where they're fishing lines and fishing a lot? Is any activity underwater cleanups?
Yes. We work with several dive clubs around the county. We've done Matlacha Pier recently. We've done all of Captiva recently. We did a dive cleanup. You'd be surprised at some of the things they found in there. They found a washing machine in the waterways off of Captiva. So we do work with dive clubs. We've not been successful in getting the main fishing pier on Fort Myers Beach, because we run into issues with, it has to be closed for several hours. We don't want people fishing and trying to catch sharks while our divers are down there. And we've just not been able to get permission to close the pier for a couple of hours yet. But we have done several other piers around, and we've also done the Arc Tower dive location. A couple of years back, we had dive crews go down there and remove all the fishing line and lures left behind. So we do that by partnering with some of the local dive clubs.
So I put your get involved page in the chat, but Maria had a question. Are there any standards for public trash cans, for example, for gated communities? Many times they are left open and other times they don't even have lids.
You know, I don't know the answer to that. I don't believe there is. I don't believe there's a standard rule as to how often and if they have to be closed or secured. I don't believe there is.
Okay. Are there any other questions out there? Feel free to unmute and ask or put it in the chat. If not, I'm going to pull up. I'm going to take over, if that's okay with you,
Yep.
Trish. And I wanted to, whoops, show you my screen. So here's the Keep Lee County Beautiful website. I just wanted to show you that. I had the Get Involved page open, but here's the home page. So feel free to go visit their website as a resource.
Karen, it's
we
not
cannot
showing.
see it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not? Okay. Let me go back. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Let me move us out of the way. Sorry about that. So here's the Keep Lee County Beautiful website. That's the front page. It's really beautiful. So, and then if you want to get involved, they have a tab there for Get Involved. And that's where you'll see the AdoptAPrograms and the annual cleanups. And then I wanted to show you the wet plan page, which is a great resource for all sorts of information as well. And you can email us at any time by hitting the Contact Us button. And Maria will get your email there. But I also wanted to show everyone, right now we have our Lee County Pond competition going on. So this competition is twofold. One way to get involved is if you have a really beautiful pond and your community has worked hard to keep it that way and make it that way, we're going to be giving out awards to the best pond in Lee County. So if you have a lovely, lovely pond, we want to have you put it in for this competition. If on the other hand, you've been trying to do some work on your pond and you know it needs some improvement and you have the support of your community, please put in for the competition for a mini pond makeover. The Wetland Group has committed to doing at least one makeover, and we'd love to help you improve the water quality and the beauty of your pond. So that's an important and exciting competition that we have going on. It's going to be, registration is open until the end of January. Am I correct, Maria?
Yes, you're
So
correct.
yeah, so you have a bit of time. If you need help filling out that registration, please contact us. We'd be happy to help you through the process. So with that, if we don't have any other questions, we'll close out our wetland pond site talk for today. Trish, we really want to thank you for being here and for talking to us. It's a really important topic, and we're not going to get to the point of having clean waterways if we don't deal with litter reduction and waste reduction. So it's really important for all of us to know about it.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Any other questions or comments out there? If not, we'll say thank you to everyone for joining us. We appreciate you being here. Let your friends know about this presentation because we will be putting it up on our website, and there'll be a link and people can watch this at their own convenience. It's really important for people to know this information, so we'd be really happy if you share it.